Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe Panther III.
Hello there, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I am Joe Panther III, and today I have another awesome person to add to my wall of fame. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to head referee Joe King. Welcome, Joe. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Joe. I've been really looking forward to doing this podcast today. So thank you for giving me the time to kind of explain myself. And yeah.
Awesome, Joe. So, what made you get into this vast world of professional wrestling?
Okay. What a question. I don't know, like I think every wrestling fan, I started off as wrestling as a fan, like back in 97, 98, I really started getting into it. And I just never really thought that I could find a place in wrestling. And then the opportunity kind of came about where I could start training to be a referee. I'm in my 40s too, so I thought the referee was like the perfect avenue to go down as far as my age. And, it's just been an amazing time. Wrestling has done so much for me, so I just wanted to give back. And, so it's been, that's been my main thing.
So, who are some of the referees you remember as like a young Joe?
Yeah,
you loved.
Like the biggest one is oh geez, caught me off guard for a second.
Oh boy.
Earl Hefner back in WWF times. I've watched so many of his matches. I just always really enjoyed his style, and then he went over to TNA, and now like his son just recently retired as well, who's been a referee as well. So, those are the two main that I always kind of stick out in my mind.
This has been really good. There's the NWO referee that I've been watching a lot of the old WCW stuff.
Nick Patrick,
Peacock. That I can't think of his name, like the curly hair.
Patrick.
Curly. He's like really skinny, had that curly hair. What's his name?
Nick Patrick.
Yeah, Nick Patrick. There's like there's another one that was in there. There was a lot that was in WCW. I can't think of his name. He had curly hair. He was like skinny.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably wrong too.
There's a lot of memorable referees. Like, but a referee, like, do you have any like fun stories from being a ref, like at any matches and shows or anything?
They're all really unique and fun, like it's it's been a real, when I first got into it, it's the scariest thing ever, right? Like going into that ring and having everyone kind of all eyes on you, especially as a referee. If you make a bad call or if you make a call that people don't like, people are very vocal and they'll let you know. So it's starting out was very, very scary. Now I like to have a lot more fun. I enjoyed a lot more kind of playing with that crowd, seeing how the wrestlers work, how I can work with the wrestlers. I can't really think of anything that really like pops out in my mind. There's, I guess anytime that I take a bump or giving a bump is always one of the highlights of my night. I a couple of years ago, I was able to give a Canadian Destroyer to MRB, and I was just so gracious that he gave me that opportunity and that stage to kind of show off a little bit of my talent as well. And it was, those are always fun.
It's like being a ref. Like, do you have to go to like training and everything to like be like is you're not a wrestler, but you're a referee? Do you still have to go to that strenuous training? 100%. And who trained you?
So I got trained by a bunch of people. It was back in 2019. There was a show, it was called Glam Slam.
I know Glam Slam, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So they were recruiting some new people and that type of stuff. So I originally started going with them, and then I was training with Cobra Kai, the Great Kasaki. They were all training me as well, and like, you don't want to get into a wrestling ring unless you know how a wrestling ring works, right? So it looks pretty standard, but there's a lot of lines that wrestlers are using. You have the four corners, right? So you'll be using the X a lot. And then you also have like the T, right? So it's kind of good to know what the wrestlers are doing. So like when you're doing chain wrestling or just like, like the basics and stuff like that, you're going to be running the ropes and you're going to be doing things certain ways. And the more you learn as a referee how those things work in a ring and what the lines are, the better it is for you, because you can kind of see, oh, they're doing this. This is what's going to come after this. So what's going to come after this? You want to make sure that you're in a safe position so you're not going to get in the way. So yeah, like there's, I trained with all the wrestlers as well. I'm not saying I'm a very good wrestler, but I understand the fundamentals of how a wrestling ring works. And yeah, they wouldn't let me back in that, or they wouldn't let me in that ring until, I at least got the fundamentals down. So
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about it. Like, if you're a ref, like, people think, oh, they probably don't need to be trained. They just toss him and they give him a zebra shirt and just tell him to count to 3 or
yeah,
count to 10.
sometimes.
But is it more or less complicated to be a referee? Is it harder to be able to not just sit in a corner and not get involved? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm a wrestling fan. Like I'm the biggest wrestling fan, and sometimes I'm in that ring and something happens in front of me and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I'm like trying not to pop myself, because I was like, that was amazing. So but yeah, it's good to know where you are. Like there's a lot of rules that you may not be aware of, and like watching it on TV and be like, oh, okay, there's 5 counts and you got 10 counts and it's a count of 3, and and then when you're put into that position where you don't know what's happening in the ring, right? Like as a referee, I don't know what's happening. I'm there to be a referee. I call the match the way I see it. So you have to know those rules. Like if they're on the ropes, you have to go in and give them that 5 count. If they're in the corner, you have to give them a 5 count. If they step out, you have to give them that 10 count, and know how to do it, and make sure that you have proper cadence. Especially when you're doing your 3 counts. If your cadence are off, you could completely blow a match as well, just because if you're doing it too fast, you can hit that 3 count before the wrestler has time to kick out. And so the more experience and the more you get in that ring, the better it is, and and the better performer you become, just because as much as you train yourself and you think you're ready, as soon as you get in that ring in front of a live crowd, it is a whole new experience, brother. Like it's crazy. And so the more of that you do, the better as a referee you can become, just being like very strict with those rules and call them when they need to be called, and call them appropriately as well. So because like that crowd is watching you, and they will they are very good at pointing out when you made a mistake.
Yeah, that's totally true, Joe. It's like it's crazy because, like, you blow a count that could ruin, like, if there's a like, it's supposed to be a different fall in the match and you do the count too quick, that
Mhm.
there was if there would be like a person that's supposed to run out and do like a cash in or something like that, that means that they go off the air if they're live. You know what I mean? Like, that could ruin the whole storyline for a show.
And that's just it, right? It's like you don't want to just look at it as like a match. You want to look at the whole show as a story, and how you take that whole show as a story. And you're right, there could be something like a run in or something. And if you blow that count, and it I've been in those situations where things don't go the way that you originally thought that they were going to go, and you have to kind of like quickly make it up on the fly, figure out what's going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on in a match. So
Yeah,
it keeps
totally.
happening.
Um, sorry. So, if you can get into a match with one person, it either could be a commentator, a GM, a wrestler, a manager. Who would you want to, if you want to get in a match and you're like so tired of this one person, who would it be that you would want to just take him out?
um I don't know.
Like,
That's
who you feuding with right now? Out of everybody, you like, that's by the ringside area, a commentator, another referee. Who?
I guess I'm
You
always kind of feuding with a few people. Um, there's been talks where people want to kind of pull me away from that refereeing thing and start getting me to wrestle. Um, there's yeah, I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh,
But
no, no, I'm just saying. No, I was like, if you had to do a top 5 of any wrestler or manager that
oh,
you wanna put on that list, that's on your give him a Brooklyn beatdown in the middle of the squared circle, who would it be?
I think the top guy would definitely be Kevin Nash. I really like that guy. I've always, his NWO Red and Black. I absolutely loved that time of wrestling, and I loved his character, and I always just thought it was the coolest thing. So definitely Kevin Nash, probably Scott Hall, 100%.
God
Steiner.
rest his soul. I miss that guy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think a couple local guys as well. Like I'm over in the Pacific Northwest right now, and it's just hot. And there's been so many incredible wrestlers that have come out of this scene right now. Like even like Darby Allin, Bryan Danielson. It's yeah, I want to reserve that too for upcoming. I'm not sure yet, but I think they would definitely be two local guys or girls.
Awesome. So when you go traveling around, Joe, for your shows, do you like have a certain schedule with your training and the travel schedule? What is it like for you?
So right now we are very, very fortunate because wrestling is hot. And I'm currently in Vancouver, Canada, and there's something like 7 promotions or something that are happening just in the city alone, and they're all getting sold out. Like I just did a show last night. It was for a beer company, Parallel 49. It was with WrestleCore and Boom Pro Wrestling. They did this co-pro. So that was a lot of fun. I Iron Man that last night. There's Glam Slam, which is just a great time. There's Nation Extreme Wrestling, which is a lot of fun. So I'm pretty busy within the Vancouver area. I have had the opportunity, Love Pro Wrestling in Edmonton, Alberta. They flew me down to do a show there. Last year I was able to do Bumbershoot in Seattle, right across the border. So I've been pretty fortunate that my work schedule has been kind of somewhat local. So it's nice that I can kind of do a day trip instead of a weekend trip. But yeah.
So Joe, what is your go-to food after a show? Like what are you craving? What is your like thing you always eat?
After a show, probably pizza. It's just
Ooh.
easy. There's lots of pizza shops around Vancouver where they just sell it by the slice. So you can get off a show and just go into a store and be like, I want that piece and that piece, and yeah, I
And
try
that beer and that beer.
yeah. I try and stay away from like McDonald's and stuff like that just because yeah, I like the pizza. I'm definitely a pizza fan right now.
I grew
'Cause
up in New
a
York,
lot
so
of people that go.
pizza's life. You know what I mean? Pizza's life.
I 100%. You gotta love the za.
Yeah. So, what like if there was any kids out there that wanted to get into the business like you did,
Mhm.
and they want to be a referee or they just want to get in. Like, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Do it. 100% do it. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's completely changed my life. All of my friends that are in it, it's completely changed their life. Like everybody loves it. Find a local school that trains and learn those fundamentals. If you want to be a referee, if you want to be a wrestler, I know a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll go to wrestling school and then they'll referee until they get cleared to wrestle. And it's so important to get, like I was saying, to get that ring experience in front of those people. But yeah, go to a school, find your local school, learn those fundamentals, and then go from there.
Okay, Joe. So before we go, where can the fans find you on social media?
Right now, you can go to Joe King Referee. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. That's TikTok. Joe King Referee. That's the biggest place that you can find me. I like to put up a lot of clips on my Instagram. Because I don't wear any sleeves, I get a lot of heat while I'm in the ring. A lot of people like
Yeah.
to sue me, which is an interesting kind of thing because you're trying not to pull any attention towards yourself and away from the referee or from the wrestler. So it's this fun kind of mix of doing that. But yeah, so I get booed a lot, and I'm always that kind of bad guy. So I put up as much posts and clips that I can on Instagram, just kind of because it's fun. It's funny seeing people boo me and hate me so much. So.
Yeah. So Joe, if like, where are you gonna be next? So my fans can know if they're in Canada, they can come see you.
Come down to Vancouver, the Lower Mainland. I'm going to be doing. Oh, right now we're doing, like, there's a lot of festivals that are happening. So the biggest one that's coming up is August 2nd or August 3rd and 4th. It's our Lucha Libre Spectacular. We do that in the Waldorf parking lot, where we have luchadors. We have people from Japan, from all over the world, Mexico. It's great. We do 3 shows a day. We'll be doing that on Friday and Saturday. Also with All Star Wrestling, we're doing a bunch of different shows. We're doing the Gone Country fair that's raising money for cancer. There's also the Cloverdale Fair that's coming up as well, August 2nd, where we're going to be doing a series of shows throughout the day as well. So yeah, those are the biggest ones right now that are coming up.
Awesome.
Oh, and I should also say June 15th, we're doing Rage in a Cage in Vancouver. Where, yeah, a bunch of cage matches, and we're doing a war game match as well that night. So that's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to that. So
awesome, Joe. I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It means a lot to me to have you on the podcast. Add to my referee, my fictional referee wall of fame. Thank you so much, Joe. And please tell your wrestling friends, all the Canadian wrestling fans that are watching this podcast right now, please don't forget to like this video and definitely subscribe and share for all your fun. And definitely give Joe a nice follow on the, as I say, Instagram. I don't know why I jokingly always say Instagram, or the Insta, as the kids would say this day. I'm Joe Panther III. Your turn.
Oh, I'm Joe King, referee.
And we will catch you in the next one.